Welcome in to this Friday edition of Palmetto Sports Daily. I'm Carmine Jumay here in Greenville, joined by Julia Westerman in the Capital, Tegan Brown in the Myrtle Beach area, and Kevin Bilodeau in Charleston. And I'm wearing my boating shirt because we're sailing right into the weekend, getting ready to watch the King George Strait perform at Memorial Stadium in Clemson on Saturday. Nick Harvey, very excited, our producer, because he's going to witness greatness as well out there, guys. But unfortunately, what baseball fans have witnessed in Clemson this season has not been so great. The Tigers tumbling all the way to dead last in the ACC. We did not see this coming. This team was ranked top 20 in the country coming in, got all the way to right around 10th in the country before losing that game one to the Gamecocks a couple months ago. They were 8-0 at that point, and then they did win, of course, the Palmetto Series 2-1 over South Carolina. But yeah, we did not see this coming. They have only won 1 out of their 7 conference series this season, and they are 6-15 in the ACC, like I said. So we're asking the question, do they have any hope as far as even making the NCAA tournament or salvaging something out of this season? And the answer is kind of, because they have a glimmer of hope. They really need to probably sweep these final 3 series, starting against number 20 Boston College tonight. They're hosting them in Tigertown. Then they're hosting number 8 Florida State at home in another series. And then they go on the road to Virginia Tech, unranked team for the Hokies. So that would get them up to 500 in conference play. And then they're trying to make their 4th straight NCAA tournament. They've hosted the last 3 years under head coach Eric Bakich for the regional round, even won a regional and made the super regionals a couple seasons ago to make their first super regional since 2010 under Eric Bakich. And his first year, Julia, they did go on a great late season run a few seasons back to win the ACC tournament. So, like I said, very tiny amount of hope because of where Clemson sits right now. Very disappointing because of what they were thought of, how highly they were ranked to start the season, and then just slipping away. But your faith in the Tigers to have a late season turnaround and maybe sneak there into the NCAA tournament?
Unfortunately, I don't think I have much, just looking at how baseball is really trending, on this side of the state this year. Obviously, things going really well for Coastal, but Clemson and South Carolina really just not having any sort of season that they hoped for. But Carmine, that's kind of my question to you, because you look back and we've seen, the product that Eric Bakich has put out there since he took over as head coach of Clemson several years ago. And I don't remember there being really any concerns going into this season based on what they left and brought in. I don't think anybody expected them to be the worst team in the ACC. So my question to you, is there a glaring issue that you can kind of pinpoint to this point in the season about why this is happening, or does it just kind of seem like they can't figure things out?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think one of the things is a very difficult conference schedule. The ACC is really a great conference, but you can't blame that. You play the hands you're dealt and you play the teams that are on your schedule. I think one of the biggest things is those untimely errors we saw, especially at the beginning of the ACC schedule, where you're trying to get that momentum, figure out who your team is, and here you are having late game errors in critical situations. And as we know, guys, in baseball, the margin is very thin, and these offenses are so powerful these days that one error could extend an inning. We saw so many base runners left on, also by Clemson, so not timely hitting and then untimely errors. Just something you don't see from an Eric Bakich-led team in his few seasons so far, guys. So it's just sad, and then they were never really able to regain that momentum. So this is where we sit right now for the Tigers.
Yeah, I don't know what the bigger upset is at this point of the season. The fact that Clemson's last in the ACC, or that Boston College is ranked 20th in the country. I can't remember the last time I saw Boston College's baseball team ranked anywhere in the top 25 at any point over the last decade. Maybe they have, and I just wasn't paying close enough attention. But baseball, never a priority at Boston College from the time I was little to right now. As far as hopes for Clemson, zero. There's no chance this team does anything in the postseason. I'm pretty sure Boston College is going to go in and win another series this weekend. So I would say there's no hope of Clemson doing anything this weekend or this postseason. More importantly, Tegan, favorite George Strait song before we go to talk about this concert.
Kevin, I'm going to be so honest with you here. I could not name one George Strait song, and yes, I am a country fan, but I'm a country fan who was
stand right
born
there
in
with
Yes,
2001,
all across the
guys.
state.
I listen to modern country.
Oh.
I could not tell you. Guys, sorry, I have no idea. So
I don't either.
That might get our show canceled by the
Morgan
weekend.
Holmes and all of them. Listen, I like modern
Come on.
country. You know what else I like? Good baseball. And I just don't think Clemson is playing it right now. So, I really don't have a lot of hope for them this weekend. I will throw this in here since you mentioned Coastal earlier and how well they're doing, Julia. They're actually on the diamond right now as we film this show, so I would love to talk about them and if they've won. But they're playing Georgia Southern right now. They were down 6-3 last I checked, so we'll have to check back in with them over the weekend. I am curious, though, Carmine, do you think that Eric Backage is in any kind of hot seat, or do you think, fans are going to look at this season and just say, maybe it was a weird year for us? Where do you think Eric Backage is right now?
I don't think right now he's on any type of hot seat. If this, let's say, gets repeated next year, I would say it's warming up and you have to see just how bad it gets. But as far as, the 3 seasons before this, most wins in program history in a 3-year span, over 130. NCAA regional appearance in all 3 years. I know the goal is Omaha, but like I said, making the super regional 1 year, winning an ACC tournament championship. So I think he's good for now. A bit of an outlier, Tegan. I think the fans will take it as, but don't want to see this continue.
Yeah, you definitely don't.
Looking at Gamecock baseball, of course, it would be crazy if those jobs were open at the same time. I do also think that Backage has his job safe for now. Of course, we still got a handful of games left for South Carolina before they figure out who their next head coach is going to be. But they've had some scheduling changes. They were originally supposed to play LSU tonight in Game 1, but instead they will play a doubleheader on Saturday. So those games are now at 2 and 7:30 Eastern, and then they'll play Game 3 on Sunday. And they talked about yesterday the starters for these games. They're going to go Amp for Game 1, Stone for Game 2, and then they left that kind of TBA open because they were expecting this to happen with the doubleheader on Saturday. So waiting to see if what kind of arms they're going to need for these 2 games, because you hope you don't have to use all of them. But yes, they will now be playing a doubleheader on Saturday because of weather moving through the south, and that weather also affected Gamecock softball. They are also in action right now in Game 2 at Alabama. They moved up Game 2 to a 12:30 first pitch today, so they will also be finishing up that one earlier than expected today. Tegan?
You hope that both teams can kind of close it out. You hope the baseball team can find some momentum. I'll also throw in for softball, Coastal Carolina playing their final series of the regular season against Troy. They dropped that first game last night, extending their losing streak to 11. Not a great time for Coastal. I'll also throw in, we were talking about George Strait earlier. While you guys were talking about the Gamecocks, I decided to look up if I actually do know any of their songs. I have one of them in my like songs. I have Check Yes or No. And then other than that, I really don't know many of these songs, but I looked it up on Spotify, so yeah, I'll throw that in there.
I don't
Anyways,
even need to look at my
break.
Spotify. I know there would not be any George Strait there.
All my exes live in Texas?
Yeah,
you know that one.
Yeah. No,
Is that a George Strait song?
I don't know that one, but I do know that we're going to come back on the other side.
All I know is all my exes live in Texas like I'm George Strait. Anyways, we'll take a quick break. Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We have absolutely reached that point in the football offseason. We are going to talk about kicking today because South Carolina brings in the top kicker from the transfer portal. Malik Orson is coming from Missouri State. I need to make that my homework, is make sure I know how to say his last name. Orson, one of those two. If anybody knows, let me know. But sign the top kicker, and of course this is big news for the Gamecocks because after you lose Mitch Jeter a couple years ago, it's been kind of a roller coaster from a kicking perspective, not as consistent and great as you would want it to be, and that should be something that a team can really rely on, day in and day out, and that's something that South Carolina has not always been able to rely on. So exciting pickup for South Carolina as they head towards the 2026 season, one that a lot of people are expecting big things out of the Gamecocks. But guys, just what do we think as they kind of bolster their special teams here, Carmine?
Well, I think it could be exciting, and I don't mean this as a slight toward the Gamecocks, but with how bad the offense has been right at the bottom of the SEC in several offensive categories, if you add a kicker and you can get the ball a little bit over midfield, maybe you can score some points that way, Tegan. Maybe that'll help salvage some offense. If it stalls there, you got a kicker, bring him in for a 40, 50-yard field goal and get some points.
Yeah. I mean, any points you can get is good, especially for the Gamecocks who struggled with that last year continuously. I'll also throw this connection out there. Missouri State is where current Coastal Carolina head coach Ryan Beard was before. So the kicker, however we say his name, I'll have to ask Ryan Beard.
I do want to point out Southeast Missouri State.
Oh,
that
okay.
might be a producer Nick blunder right there. It is Southeast Missouri State, SEMO. Yeah, take that down, Nick.
Well,
hey, but I like
kidding, Write that down.
Always on top of it, Tegan.
Write that
Always
down.
on top of it.
I got you, Carmine.
Thank you.
George Strait, guys, you didn't know that. Kevin knew it, but it's time to write that down, that new college.
All right. I don't even know what you
Producer
said.
Nick
Kevin,
also knew
you
it.
were at an event yesterday with Shane Beamer. Talk to him about this guy. So just what did he have to say about all of it?
Yeah, the Garnet and Black event for South Carolina, visiting North Charleston last night. Bunch of Gamecocks coaches here in town, including Lamont Paris and Shane Beamer. And Beamer, just as the news kind of broke that they were bringing this kicker in, sat down to speak with the media a little bit. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, really, we wanted to add depth. It wasn't ideal for us going into a season with only 2 kickers on scholarship, or 2 kickers in the program, really, just from a leg standpoint. I mean, you got to be careful of not only having 2 in case there's an injury, but also just wearing them out, making sure they're not kicking too much in August and things like that. So most programs I've been around had, at least 3 guys that could be place kickers.
So Beamer very excited about the addition, especially because of the depth it's going to add to this roster, Julia.
Yeah, working towards that season. Of course, you want to have that depth in case they ever run into one of those seasons where it feels like somebody's getting hurt every other week. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year, especially when it comes to your special teams guys, somewhere that, South Carolina normally excels because that's Beamer's bread and butter. So you hope that things are kind of aligning for them. Of course, we'll start to see this team as we get closer to the summer and get all those workouts in. But looking forward to seeing where this goes, guys. I mean, it's May 1st. We're one step closer to football season. All right, we're one step closer to our next topic, but we'll take a quick break first.
Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. It is finally time for the Federal Prospects Hockey League Finals to kick off in Florence tonight. The PD Ice Cats in their inaugural year getting ready to host the Binghamton Black Bears. Now, these teams did face off already this season. It was up in Binghamton. They played 2 games. The Black Bears taking the first matchup in that one and the Ice Cats taking the second one. Now, the finals are a best-of-5 series, so the Ice Cats are looking to secure those first 2 wins in front of their home crowd. Puck drop is at 7:15 tonight. I've heard that there's going to be a really good amount of fans there. I've also heard from fans there's a group of them planning to travel up to Binghamton to see the game. Some of them are planning on driving, which I've done that drive. It's 13 hours. It's a long drive, so I hope they're very excited to make the trip for some hockey. Now, the Bearcats, or rather, the Black Bears, the Bearcats are their university. The Black Bears have the goaltender of the year with Dominic Temej, while the Ice Cats have the rookie of the year with Alexander Legkoff. So, an exciting time to see some hockey, Kevin.
It is. Tegan, I wanted an update from you. Is there any word on the kids who were going to skip prom and go watch hockey tonight?
Yes, that's what I was wondering.
That's a good question. No, that's good. I've been looking in the Facebook group. I haven't seen anything new about it. However, I am going to be looking at the signs around the arena tonight to see if there are any, I skipped prom to be here, because the signs are a huge deal for these fans. They're in the Facebook group all the time asking for artists who can make them a sign if they're not artistically gifted. So I will keep you guys updated on that on Monday.
That's the main thing I'm waiting for on Monday. I'm going to get through my whole weekend just wondering if these kids went to prom or a hockey game. That's where my life is at right now, in case you were wondering. Speaking of hockey, we've got hockey here in the Low Country coming up tonight as well. The South Carolina Stingrays in Game 5 of their first-round series against the Atlanta Gladiators. A chance for the Stingrays to wrap this thing up as they're up 3-1. The win tonight, they move on to the second round, most likely to face Florida. A loss tonight, and they'll go back to Georgia for Game 6 coming up on Monday. If they lose that one, Game 7 will be back at the North Charleston Coliseum coming up on Tuesday, I should say. Head coach David Wasowski told me yesterday that he knows this isn't a must-win game. He knows there's a couple more chances if they lose this one. But he said winning this one would be a huge deal. If for no other reason, just get them 2 or 3 days of rest and try to recover a little bit as they get ready for a huge second-round matchup. But they're all focused on this one. He said, hockey speak, it's 20 minutes at a time, and that's all they're worried about tonight. The big question, though, as far as what's going to happen at the North Charleston Coliseum is producer Nick going to make the trip from Columbia to watch Game 5 of the Stingrays and Gladiators? And Nick, he doesn't want to answer. He's in my ear. He does not want to say.
Game time decision.
It's still a game time as we record this.
We are 30,
just about 4.5 hours away from ice drop. So
better to be late than
better than never.
All right, here's the question, guys. If the Stingrays lose this game and go on to lose the series, and producer Nick is not in the house tonight, how much responsibility does he bear?
All of it.
110%.
50%.
That is
50%.
not a valid point to make.
50, Nick.
I would say all of the responsibility for this year, and then responsibility going into next season as well.
No.
Wow, even the off-season responsibility.
Because I went to the games that they lost last year at home. If I'm there and they lose, then it's still my fault. It's more my fault if they lose.
Producer Nick is
okay, so he's bad luck.
But
what a thoughtful gesture from Nick to remove himself from the situation, give the team the best chance to win.
That's what I'm trying to say.
No. I just know that if this was my team and they were within an hour and a half drive, and I talked about how much I love this team all the time, I would be there in the seats no matter what I had going on the next day.
I'm driving further to Florence to see the Ice Cats tonight. I'm driving 2 hours to see them.
Wow.
It's technically 2 hours when you get into the traffic on 526. Kevin,
It'd be like I can still make Cheyenne.
Producer Nick.
I'm not. Let's go to break. Can we go to break?
All right. We're going to go to break.
No, we're talking about this forever. No break.
All right. You guys keep talking about it. Let's go.
Let's go to break.
Oh, well.
All right, fine.
We'll be back.
See ya.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. As we wrap up the week right now, we go back to talk a little football, but we're talking women's flag football. Charleston Southern announced last month that they were going to be starting their own flag football team, one of the first in the country. They're going to be playing a NCAA recognized flag football team. The Big South Conference also going to have a bunch of teams in this new league as well. And yesterday, CSU introduced their new head coach for this women's flag football team. Angela Villarreal Ortiz is going to be leading this program. She's also a player as well. She's trying to qualify for the Olympic team that's going to be in LA in a couple of seasons. So she's trying to balance her own workouts and trying to make this Olympic squad, as well as trying to build this program from scratch that is set to start play in the spring of 2028. We got a chance to talk to her yesterday, and she told me what's the hardest part about building this program from scratch.
It's got to be a family for sure. Some players that can get along together, but also support each other both on and off the field. So the first thing is finding players that have the character and determination that it needs to to be able to start something that's completely brand new and know that there's not already something, you know, in place that they're going off of. Like, they are the first, you know, athletes that are going to carry it and start everything from scratch and have to, you know, carry that on them.
And Charleston Southern will be hosting their first ever women's flag football jamboree coming up this Wednesday, actually a week from this Wednesday, where girls from all around the area can come and try out a little bit and show the coach what they've got going and if they're worthy of a spot on this team. So Julia, Tegan, I fully expect to see you here in the Low Country. I know you guys still have some eligibility left, so
yeah. I mean,
you know,
I
could
got
be a
4
spot
years.
waiting for you on this team.
Yeah.
Right?
Tegan, you've got 4 too, right? Should we go down?
Yeah. I have all of my eligibility left, and little do you guys know, I'm actually a flag football legend. Yeah, totally. No, I've actually never been to a game of it in my life, but I'm very excited to experience it, Julia.
I went to some powder puff practices when I was a junior in high school, but
Ooh,
nobody could
now those are intense.
We never made it to the game because nobody was like organized. So, which also point that I wanted to bring back up, Kevin, you made me spiral the other day because of how I pronounce organization. I've been thinking about it every day since. See, I just said it right because I've changed my whole value.
You didn't say it right the other day, so.
I know, I've changed my whole lifestyle because now I'm terrified of sounding dumb. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's why I'm here, Carmine.
Well, guys, let's get this show back organized with a few more points about George Strait performing at Memorial Stadium tomorrow. Over 100 million records sold worldwide.
Yeah.
Holds the record for the most #1 hits in country music history, guys. He has 60 #1 country hits. Achieved a top 10 hit every year for more than 3 decades. Winner of more than 60 major entertainment industry awards. And he's inducted into the Texas Cowboy Hall of Fame and the Country Music Hall of Fame. All right, so a little education. Listen to the music. Outstanding. The
I didn't
King.
listen to any of that.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
We'll see you right back here on Monday.